Hello, everybody. I just thought I'd make a video, sort of talking about what I see as like my progress as a spiritual progress, if you want to call it that. And one of the things I've learned is not to get attached to words and concepts, because saying, "Oh, I'm on a spiritual journey," you got to be very careful with things like that, because really it's just about raising your level of consciousness. Like, I know people that I don't think really need to go through what I am going through. I think it's only the past that I've lived has sort of created a lot of challenges, emotional, mind structures, and there's a lot of anger. Not a lot, but there's anger inside me and frustration that I need to deal with, and that's the sort of path that I'm on. But what I'm sort of pleased with about myself is I'm aware of the issues that I've got, and I just thought if I just talked about them a little bit, it might help somebody else on a similar sort of journey, if you will. But the way I kind of look at it, with regard to people saying they're spiritual and stuff like that, is when someone says I'm spiritual, be very, very suspicious of that person. Because it's generally not the case. If you have to say that, it means you haven't. Not in all cases, but if you have to say that, it generally means that you're not. Because you've created a concept in your mind of me, the spiritual person. But one of the things that's kind of happens to me, and the sort of what I try and do, is I know that the purpose of any situation that arises, any challenge, the purpose is to be at peace. So your goal in any situation should always be peace. And it's a really good way of looking at it. And that's what, when Jesus said, I've overcome the world, that's what he means. He doesn't mean he's got an army, he's going to kill everybody, of course. What he means is, he's overcome the world in that he won't let anything in the world disrupt his being. And it can, when you get down to the very deepest level of who you are, nothing that happens can affect you at the very deepest level. But of course it would feel like that if you are totally trapped in your mind. So look, things that's kind of changed with me. I've been on this kind of, I'm trying to think of the best way to word it without it becoming a concept. Really, spiritual journey is really the only way I can put it, but we'll just call it that. I've been on this journey for about 5 years, and the things that I've noticed changing about myself, as well as just generally getting older and things don't appeal to you anymore. Little things like just not feeling the need to drink as much, to socialise in the same circles, so the same people that I used to spend some time with. And this isn't to demean them in any way. The things that they talk about don't interest me anymore. I used to be interested, well, I'll say I was interested, but I used to engage in small talk, talking about the local rugby team and which player, and have you heard about this person, and it just, that the thought of that now is quite, it just doesn't hold any interest for me whatsoever. And that in itself brings challenges, because when I'm in those environments now where I meet people that I used to enjoy talking to or I used to get along with, I've realised I don't enjoy their company anymore. So that is a challenge within itself, because what you have to try and do is to keep that peace. In other words, don't let it frustrate you, because there's been many occasions, and it still happens to me now, is where those people disrupt my consciousness. So in other words, I become frustrated. I know that when you let emotions get the better of you too much, you've lost your true grip on reality. When you get angry and frustrated, and you lose consciousness. So the trick is, when you come across those people, is to not let your ego come in through the back door. In other words, your ego might say, I'm better than you because I'm spiritual. That's a load of nonsense. That's total shit. Because everybody's got a different route to... We will all reach enlightenment. Every living creature on this planet will eventually reach enlightenment. Every human being, although it may not seem it, every human being will eventually reach enlightenment. And it's just... Reading spiritual books and doing what I do is just a different route. It says in the Bible somewhere, every blade of grass will reach enlightenment. And we will all eventually become what we were meant to. Everybody's got a different path, and you've always got to try and remember that. But of course, the biggest challenges, as I've just pointed to, in life for me, as I'm sure for everybody else, is other people. Dealing with other people and ignorance of other people is the most frustrating thing, because you basically, what you'll do is you'll look at another person and their actions, and you will make an identity out of that and say they're bad, they're evil, or whatever. And it's very important to try and not do that. They are just... It's just human unconsciousness manifesting through that form. That's all it is. It's not who they really are. If you look at the political situation and all that, it's very important to remember that those people are acting in ways which seem to defy logic. They've kind of lost what they're doing. They've got caught up in it. And the way I look at it is, this is one perspective. And this is the danger with spiritual teachings, either audio like this or by words, is by no word, sentence, anything contains the truth. It just points to it. You always got to remember that. Some people get caught up on words so much, it's unbelievable. It's like, I did a video on another channel once and referred to somebody, I didn't, a certain someone, and some people know what I'm talking about. I referred to that person as not being a narcissist in the way that I viewed being a narcissist, because I believe that the original legend is someone who fell in love with himself, and I don't believe that that person did. And everybody in the comment section went crazy and went, no, you're wrong, he's a narcissist. The only reason that is because people get attached to a word, and they believe that word is the truth. Well, how can a word be the truth? There is no intrinsic reality to words or even thoughts. The only reality that there is in the whole universe is you at your deepest level. Consciousness. That's all that is real. Nothing else. Everything else is an illusion. As you're listening to this now, the sounds that are being decoded by the brain, your mind is processing it, but it is your deeper level that understands the words. Your deepest self. And that's what you should always try and remain in contact with. And you can do that through meditation and just being still and quiet. And that's one thing one of the challenges I have now is I struggle with being in noisy, busy environments. I work in a noisy, busy environment, and I have to shy away. Everybody comes in to work and it's like a busy floor sometimes, and it's hell for me. Hell is probably too strong a word, but let's just say it's very challenging to have people, you can't hear yourself think because it's noisy and everybody's gossiping. It's just an unpleasant environment, and I have to leave. I will sit in a room on my own, sometimes just being quiet, sometimes reading a spiritual book, because it brings you back to presence. If you have a book, it's like Oprah Winfrey says that she has a copy of The Power of Now in every room that she's got in her house, and I actually believe that. Don't get too caught up on books, but they are... If you have a book that is a true spiritual teaching, just reading one sentence or a page or whatever can bring you back down, can bring you back down to presence, can bring you back to presence. And that's what I always do. So yeah, I mean, it's what I've been through has isolated me from certain friends. There's some people that are just... Not that I don't respect them, but I find it very, very difficult to get on with certain people. Some people they just can't break away from the confines of the mind. They're too caught up in it. Everybody has the opportunity to. And life will give you eventually what you need for the evolution of your consciousness. Certain people will have to go through certain things at certain times, whether it be a tragedy, whether it be some kind of huge limitation, whatever it is, life will more often than not, if not always, give you what you need for the evolution of your consciousness. And sometimes that might be what seems like a senseless act, like maybe the death of someone close or something like that, or like I said, a dreadful limitation through illness or accident. But it's about finding the grace within every situation. And of course, sometimes things seem senseless. I always try and look at the universe as like a massive jigsaw, like I've said, and it's not necessary to know exactly, but it's important to know that there is a sense in everything. There isn't just senseless, mindless acts that happen in the universe. How could it? So yeah, the biggest challenge, I mean, just for instance, I went to one of the things I like to do, one of the little things I get massive amount of pleasure from, is just going to one of the local coffee shops and reading a nice spiritual book more often than not. And as I went there today, there's like a little table in the corner, and I like to sit in certain places, and then I've got a good view of what's going on around me, because I like to people watch sometimes and take in my surroundings, and it helps. It's like a mini meditation. And I couldn't get into a certain seat because this woman refused. She just wouldn't move a seat. And she could quite clearly see I was trying to get through past her to the table behind her. And she had a chair all the way back and I couldn't get in. And she saw me and she just wouldn't move. And I became a little frustrated. And I had to remember to try and remain peaceful. I ended up moving away from there. And then I moved back to another chair. And I knew that it's like a challenge. I moved to a different chair, and a guy had his jacket hanging. There was like a partition between our tables. I was on a table on my own, and he was on the next table. And his jumper hung over the partition onto my table. And he saw me sit down and refused to move his jacket. I thought it was a bit rude. And I said to him, I looked at him as if to gesture to move his jacket, and he didn't. He kind of looked at me, and I was thinking, well, he might not realise what he's doing. But then I said, excuse me, do you mind just moving your jacket? And he looked at me, didn't say a word, and looked at me for 2-3 seconds, didn't do anything, and then moved it in like a sort of, in like frustration, as if I'd done something wrong. And at that point, I was like a little bit annoyed. I was thinking, well, sure, that's somebody that's got no manners, of course. To not let him, because all I wanted to do is relax on my own and read a book, but yet I found that to be slightly rude. And I had to come back and say, right, okay, well, that's the way he is. He might be having a bad day. So don't judge that person. Don't judge that situation. All you have to concentrate on is not letting it upset your own peace, because your mind could go in a million directions at that point and go, what an ignorant bastard, or that kind of thing, and who does he think he is, and just over a little thing like that. But of course, my interpretation of it, and it's just a perspective, I mean, he'd probably be looking at that differently. So all it is a jumper. What's he doing asking me to move it? He wasn't into, but I found it was, he's basically taking over 2 tables. So, my interpretation is that he, to be nice and respectful, he should just move it. But of course, it was not as quite straightforward as that. But them are the little challenges. Them are just minor challenges, aren't they? That we face every day. I have to deal with people in my job all the time. And in my own personal life, of course, everybody does. And them are the biggest challenges. One of the things as well that's changed for me since I've started to try and learn about spiritual teachings, things like that, is when there's a situation which may be perceived as being drama or intense, I get the sense that it's not real. Something comes over me and it says this isn't real. It's bizarre. I can't really explain it any more than that. I don't know why that happens. And also, another thing as well, when I see beautiful scenery or a beautiful moment of nature, not anything man-made, of course, I don't find it in that. Anything that, sometimes it could be looking at clouds in the sky, sometimes it can be looking at an animal, beautiful scenery, the sun shining on the trees. It's like time stands still and I feel a deep peace come over me, and something that I can't really put into words. It's like I feel at one with what's. It only lasts a very short for a short time, and then the mind comes back in again. But those are the kind of little moments that I experience. So as I go on through life, it is other people and the challenges that they bring that I try my best with. Another thing that I struggle with as well at the moment, I don't know, maybe someone can help me out with this, I don't know. I struggle how to make decisions on how to utilise my time. So I like doing these videos, but sometimes when I'm in the evening and I haven't got anything specific to do, I seem to spend a ridiculous amount of time trying to decide on what's best to do, and that never used to happen to me. I very rarely watch TV now. I don't play computer. I play computer games very rarely. But now I worry. Even worry comes over me sometimes that I'm not utilising my time to the best of my ability. I've got an exam at work that I need to study for. I need to practice more on my guitar. I read. So I always worry about that. And that never used to happen to me. That's something I've got to overcome. Don't know how to get over that at the minute. I'm trying to work on it. I know it's something to do with me just changing the way that I don't get the same enjoyment out of what I can't sit there and watch TV like I used to. The odd TV show that I'm glued to and the odd movie that I will. But I find excessive TV is definitely not an adequate use of your time. Every now and again, something that's generally enthralling and entertaining can certainly be nice. It can be a good bit of escapism. But yeah, I always try not to watch too much TV. Obviously, I've become vegetarian now, and that isn't for, I'm spiritual, I must be vegetarian. It's not anything like that. It's just, I think I mentioned it before when I went on holiday. I saw certain things, and it's just me doing my bit. I just believe for my personal self, it's the right thing for me to do. I feel healthier for it now, and it's got to the point, I never thought I'd say this, after about, what are we on now, beginning of February, so just less than 2 months, and the thought of eating meat doesn't appeal to me anymore. So I've kind of broke through that addiction, if you want to call it that, of meat, and now, because my diet mainly consists of fruit, vegetables, nuts, things like that, I have the odd bit of cheese. I'm not vegan. I don't buy milk anymore, but I have the odd bit of vegan. A bit of cheese and tiny little bit of milk here and there. It's all I kind of need now. I don't need meat anymore. But anyway, that's just a little. That's just a side thing. If anybody's thinking of doing that, it's very challenging. But I made a really nice pasta, aubergine, onion and pepper pasta dish yesterday. That was very nice. But anyway, I digress. It was just a little, hopefully me talking about that maybe has put things into perspective for anybody else that might be going on a similar path. It'd be really interesting to hear if anybody else is going through similar things, or what your journey is, and do you feel yourself changing the way that you think about things, the people that you interact with, anything like that. That guy's a mic came out. But anyway, so anybody leave any comments, please. I would certainly appreciate it, and I do thank you for your time, and I'll speak to you later.